Alright, greetings. Not sure if we're recording, but I just thought I'd give an explanation for some of the reasons why I actually prefer to live on the road, living in my house. A lot of people, their life, their dream, their everything is wrapped up in get a house, own a house, legacy. Most of you really don't know how to do it very efficiently. You should live as cheap as possible when you're young so you can save up and pay cash or something. Even if it's just a starter home, it's your home and you outright own it. That's the one of the master's techniques that you're never taught. Most of you are taught how to buy things to look like you're popular, and that holds you back. Or status, education, blah, blah, blah. But I'm beyond all of that. I've been beyond all that for decades. When I was a kid, I always knew something was kind of off, and as I got older, in my late teens, early 20s, when I moved out to the woods, I remember that magical moment. I was in my apartment. A buddy showed up, some ultra dibbity dank, and he wanted to play Armored Core 3. I wanted to watch Princess Mononoke again because I realized, much like the sane Paul Harvey, I listened to my music again because I realized I'd never heard it before. I watched the movie again, then I walked up on the hill up above the apartments, and I was looking over the whole city, and I was realizing reality is complete bullshit. So I lived in the woods for 4 years and rented this land for $100. Life was pretty chill, pretty laid back. And if I had a problem, I could just build a solution. Simply kind of like my van situation, where if I've got a problem, I can just create a solution. Like, honestly, I'd kind of like to upgrade the back end half ton into a 3/4 or 1 ton rear end, bigger springs, better everything. And then I'd like to take that off and put it in my camp kitchen, which is nice, don't get me wrong. Take that off and put it on my battle van, and then put my motorcycle on the back of there. And the people were like, well, it's just, you could buy another vehicle. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if I can get what I want out of this, why not just keep on using this? But the point of it is that if I have a problem, I can create a solution. Now, I could go with an analogy here. Much like people talk about, why did the motorcycle or the car replace the horse? One, it could go farther in a day. That's a lot of it. But the other part is, when you don't need your motorcycle, your off-road vehicle, your car, or whatever, you don't have to feed it. If you have a horse, you have to constantly feed it. And I know a lot of people have a lot of sentimental value if you happen to be, a horse person about, horses and livestock. But for me, it's purely practical. Why would you want to have to feed money and energy into something if you're not there? Now, where does this go for my whole house equation? Out here, I can make my own power. Like, for instance, I'm eventually going to do a remodel on this van. I'll move that black box to the other side and then put probably 2 more panels. I got 3 on there now, but 2 more panels, a bank of 4, and then a bigger solar generator. And it'll be on the other side because that way the door side doesn't get the sun, and I can just basically get a tarp and set up a situation where I've got like a nice little shade area. And yeah, it'll be way better. I can just build a solution. That's how I operate. See, I don't live in those normal borders that most of you live in, where it's all like, well, they say this is the way you do things because this is the way you do it. Because one of my inspirations, by the way, the reason I call myself Freedom Phil isn't because of my father. His name is Phil. His name was Roadkill Phil. He's traveled all over the country. But my buddy's dad that I rented land from, he was Freedom Phil. And don't get me wrong, I'm inspired by my father. But my buddy's dad, if he wanted to build something, he's a welder, he would just create it. He'd just make it happen. I took a lot of inspiration from that because, why be limited by other people's designs, other people's thoughts? Why not make your own designs, your own dreams, your own things? And I'm more of a physical, useful, mechanical person. That's the way I am. I'm not like, art is nice, but I see art in function. I know that's weird, right? Like the idea that you would look at a beautiful running machine that's efficient, or you take waste and you turn it into energy, or you turn it into a new product. I love that. I love the recycling, the composting, the making of gas, or literally able to heat your water through a compost pile, or underground housing. I love all of that because it's efficiency and beauty. And to me, that's art. Now, my artistic mind is more mechanical and more craft-like. So when I come back to the whole concept of living in a house, what do I see other than a constrained existence? Not that you live in the same place, but that's boring as hell, by the way. It is. It's boring. I'm sorry. I mean, like, I get that for most of you, that is the meaning of your life, your existence, and all that crap. I totally get that. That you have a wife and kids or, whatever, and that's your life. But, let's be honest about most of your lives and that. If we're being honest, just brutally honest, a lot of you, whatever house you buy in the very beginning of your early life and your marriage will probably be lost. Like anywhere from 50 to 70% of the time, it will be lost. Or you'll be in a miserable marriage. I see no purpose to that. I think the world's already a little overpopulated as is, so it's not like we need to add more fucking people to clog up the McDonald's lines. Plus, also, there may be a rare disease that I may carry the genes of that I'm like, yeah, you know what? Next generation doesn't need that. It's never afflicted me, but it is in my bloodline. So I'm like, fuck it. Just me, my thoughts, my building, my everything. I bring this back to the house and the horse analogy. Well, just like a horse, a house has bills and problems and things you have to deal with. You don't just own a horse just like you don't just own a house. It's not like when you own stocks or investments or, even like some sort of material that you could easily store somewhere. Like you could rent a facility, a storage unit or something and store something, or you have a safety deposit box. No. A house is a goddamn chore. It's an investment. And I know a lot of you would be like, yeah, but you get to live in it. I am perfectly happy in this. I prefer to be in a over-the-road vehicle, like a truck, like a Peterbilt, a Freightliner. I love driving truck, or I love doing van life. And when I'm out here, I have Airwave TV. I have, all the channels. I've got internet from the sky. I've got all these video games. I'm replaying the Final Fantasy XII Zodiac, and I'm having a blast. I'm having like a nostalgia blast with that game. All right. I am perfectly happy like this. When I go down to the creek and I wash myself and collect water and do my laundry, I'm happy. I am happy. But when I come back to the house analogy, I've got to pay a water bill. And you're like, well, what's the big deal? I have to pay that water bill whether I'm drinking it or not. Imagine for a second, just like the horse analogy, if you had a vehicle that you weren't even driving, but you had to pay for gas. You had to pay $130 in gas for some vehicle that you weren't even there to drive. Somebody else they're just taking your money. It's a minimum fee. And I noticed no matter how efficient or inefficient I was, it was about $130 a month, maybe each 1,000 gallons of water was like $1.40. You go to Walmart, what is it, about $1.28 to $1.40 for 1 gallon? Okay, now I know that sounds like when I go to Walmart and I get those jugs, I refill them somewhere. I refill them on my own and I'm doing just fine. Or I'm in the middle of nowhere and I just get my water, boil my water. Not an issue. I don't pay $130. If I paid, like, say, $130 for, let's say 100 gallons of water at Walmart, I'll have those jugs. I'll be able to refill those jugs. But if I'm not even there to drink the water at my house, I still have to pay $130 a month. And then we have the situation with homeowners insurance. Now, I can claim the homeowners insurance on my taxes if I rent out the house, which I really want to. I mean, I just want to find a PM that doesn't seem like a shyster or something like that. But I'm not saying the guy I talked to was a bad guy. I want more information on whoever I'm dealing with. I can claim the insurance, but still, insurance has gone from being $500 a number of years ago now to where they want $800 to $1,500 or more. Just in case my neighbors, tip over a barbecue and light my fucking house on fire. And a lot of times when it comes to insurance, it really is a joke. You have it, and then the moment you have a big claim like your roof, they're looking for any way to fuck you out of paying the money they owe you. Which then leads into the question, why do I have to have insurance? Well, I have to have insurance because it costs so much goddamn money to rebuild a house. Unlike if I was to do a van life or, an RV on a piece of property, or let's say one of those tiny sheds, tiny homes. It costs almost nothing to build that operation. I could do that. I could probably build a tiny home for under probably $25,000, maybe $30,000. I can get the tiny home itself, the whole shell for what, $8,000? Doing the rest of its Outlander technology, like it's the same shit you would do for an RV. So you look at it and you're like, okay, so a normal home that is certified where the society goes, you can have that type of home, but if you want to do one of those drop sheds, you can't live in that. You can use it for an office, but you can't live in that. You can live in the RV right next to it. And it's just such a fucking shyster game to me. Now, you add up the cost of the water. Now, look, luckily I can get away from the electricity because if I'm not there, I can just turn that off. The taxes, I can't claim the taxes, even if it's a rental. But it ends up being, and paying someone to mow the lawn, boy, that's not cheap anymore. It's not like you can't pay some kid $20 or $25. Now you expect at least 50 twice a month. So we're talking around $4,500 a year as a fee for the pleasure of owning a house. And I know a lot of you, your entire life has been geared around get that house. You wonder how to get a house a lot cheaper? Live it, like I said earlier, master's technique. Go out there, drive truck, do plumbing, live as cheap as possible. If live with your family. Hey, work with your family. If they expect you to take care of them when they're old, they should help you when you're moving up in the world. That way you're not paying a sea of interest. Go to the Midwest. There's tons of cheap housing. Texas, the South. Go look all over. Try to maybe get to your family to leave their opulent place in the West Coast or wherever. Sell that and go and have a huge amount of money invested and a house. Just get a nice little old house. Do a little work. Maybe become a plumber. Become an electrician. And bada bing, bada boom. In a few years, you outright own your house. So imagine for a second if you didn't have to worry about all that, like, it's my biggest investment. Nonsense. And it was basically just you actually living in your house. Now imagine you basically have to pay rent to society. When I do the whole off-grid, or let's say my land properties, I got one piece of property that's $400 a year. Now divide that by 12 months. How much is my rent to society, aka taxes? It's almost nothing. The property down here on the canal, Hood's Canal, it's all of $500 in taxes and early 200 something for HOA. And I get access to our own private wells. We got a beach full of shellfish that they plant. Clams, naturally occurring, they got gooey ducks there too. Pretty amazing. And naturally occurring oysters. We got our own boat launch, got a river right there. Sometimes salmon run up it. And I could turn that property into a beautiful garden. I could grow all sorts of food. I could park an RV there. So my cost per month on that is like $60, less than $60 a month, versus even if you have the house paid off, what you got to deal with. Now, a lot of people would just say, why don't you just sell it? It's a good investment. And let's be honest, the housing market right now, even though over there is elevated, the rest of the country's kind of deflated. No, I shouldn't say deflated, but it's just not as high as it could be. So I don't really have any interest in selling. I also keep it kind of a backup plan just in case of emergency. But I kind of wonder, could I handle living like that ever again? After, embracing, touching real freedom, being out there in middle of nowhere and just doing what I want to do, drive up the top of a mountain, camp for X amount of time, or driving truck and just, the expanse of everything. The lower 48 is a beautiful thing to drive. You just look at the world entirely different. And I look at it as like, yeah, I need to turn that place over there into a rental. But I mean, honestly, if someone came up with an absurdly high offer, yeah, I'd sell it in that case. But, most of the time when people show up, they try to give you these crackerjack, I'll give you this money. It looks like an old house. I'm like, oh, come on inside. And you show them, yeah, this is all the wiring's brand new. All the plumbing's brand new. New drywall, new this, new fucking everything. This house is 2 feet thick. It's got foam insulation, 2 feet of blow and above. It's literally it's 2 inches shy of 2 feet thick because it was an old railroad house. So what's my point on that? I've got something. My house holds the cool good and holds the heat really well. You add a wood stove to that place, you'd have no electric bill during the winter. And you have no AC bill during the summer because you just got to open the windows at night, let the cool air in, close them, and then it looks like you found a rodent. I know what I have in that house. So yeah, I need to turn it into a rental. But do I want to live like that for the rest of my life? Fuck no. I'd rather be a guy in a van, driving a truck, not having to pay basically for gas for a vehicle I never drive. Because that's how I view utilities. That's how I view it. You should just be able to turn off your fucking utilities if you're not there. And I get the reason why things are the way they are. Because if everybody leaves, no one's going to be able to be paying for the pipes during the winter. But still, I don't like it. And I'd much rather be a van lifer or a truck driver, a nomad, till the day I die. And if I happen to one day settle down and live there, boy, I'm going to have a lot of pot and a lot of fucking alcohol and a whole lot of video games. Maybe a little less on the alcohol as I get older, but I'm just saying, that's my outlook. I'm not made for a house. So anyhow, everybody like and subscribe, take it easy.